The MedStar Mercy glided through the quiet dark of neutral space. Its white hull shone under the distant light of twin suns, a single symbol of peace and healing, in a galaxy that had long forgotten both. Across its surface, large red crosses pulsed gently, marking it as a hospital ship. No weapons, no armor, just a beacon of hope among the stars. Inside, the air was calm and filled with soft voices. Doctors moved down clean corridors lined with glowing panels. The scent of antiseptic hung faintly in the recycled air. Machines beeped softly beside patients, humans and aliens alike, recovering from old battles that everyone wished were over. In the main ward, Nurse Lyra adjusted the oxygen feed of a wounded pilot. He had burns across half his body, yet when he saw her face he managed a small smile. "Is the war really ending?" he asked. Lyra hesitated. "That's what they say," she answered. "The galaxy's tired of fighting." He closed his eyes. "Good. Maybe we finally did something right. But peace, like light in the void, is fragile." Outside the ship, space rippled, distorted like a reflection on water. Without warning, 3 massive shapes tore through the void, ripping open holes of blue energy as they arrived. Vaughn Empire warships, predators, black and angular, each one the size of a small city. The Mercy's sensors screamed alarms. Captain Imani, a middle-aged woman with sharp eyes, looked up from her console in shock. "Unknown signatures. All hands raise comms, identify us." The ship's speakers crackled to life as she transmitted, "This is the human medical vessel, MedStar Mercy. We are unarmed. We carry the wounded. Repeat, this is a hospital ship." No reply. The alien ships moved closer, silent. Their long spiked hulls gleamed with strange red symbols that pulsed like beating hearts. "Are they scanning us?" the communications officer asked. Imani stared at her screen. "No, they're targeting us." A sick silence filled the bridge. Every heartbeat felt like thunder. Then the first shot came. A lance of green plasma cut through the void, striking the side of the Mercy. Metal screamed as the ship shook violently. Alarms howled across every deck. Patients were thrown from their beds. Doctors fell to the floor. "Return message. They're firing on a medical ship." Someone yelled, "Keep transmitting," Imani shouted. "Make them see who we are." But the Vaughn ships didn't stop. They didn't slow. They opened fire again. Hundreds of plasma bolts ripped through the airless dark, slamming into the hospital ship. White light filled the bridge as consoles exploded. Fire and shrapnel tore through the crew. Lyra ran through the burning corridors, trying to help the wounded. She pulled a patient out of a collapsed doorway, screaming for anyone still alive. "This is a hospital." "You can't!" But her voice was drowned out by the roar of collapsing metal. Outside, the once proud MedStar Mercy spun helplessly, its bright hull now a burning wound against the stars. Minutes later, it exploded, one brilliant flash of white and orange that lit up the night like a dying sun. Across the nearest colonies, people stopped what they were doing. Farmers in domes, miners on asteroid belts, children watching the news feeds. Everyone saw the explosion. The video replayed again and again, the calm hospital ship turning into a ball of light and then nothing. The Galactic Council met in emergency session. The Vaughn Empire's ambassador bowed his head and called it a tragic mistake. "Unfortunate crossfire," he said. "We believed the ship was smuggling soldiers. Regretful, deeply regretful." The chamber filled with murmurs, but no one dared challenge the Empire. The Vaughn fleets ruled half the stars. Their ships could destroy worlds. Who would risk war for one human vessel? The Council moved on. The galaxy sighed and looked away, but not Earth. On the homeworld, the footage played across every screen. People stopped in the streets. News anchors' voices shook as they tried to explain. Mothers wept. Veterans clenched their fists. The president spoke of peace and diplomacy. The military called for patience. But deep below the surface, beyond the reach of politics, something older listened. Buried under the ruins of old Europe, sealed in bunkers older than any living memory, machines stirred. Massive silent giants wrapped in steel and dust. Their systems hummed faintly, ancient reactors breathing for the first time in centuries. A deep red light flickered across the control panels of one, its sensors activating after hundreds of years. Data flowed across cracked displays, energy signatures, distress signals, visual recordings of the MedStar Mercy's destruction. And then, a voice. Cold mechanical, yet somehow human. Signal received. Human lives lost. Conflict parameters unjustified. Another system came online somewhere under the Pacific Ocean, then another beneath the Sahara. Old defense networks, forgotten and hidden after the last war. Linked once more, the Earth shook gently, unnoticed by those above. Inside an abandoned command center beneath Mount Erebus, ancient servers blinked to life. Frozen screens displayed the insignia of a long-dead Terran fleet, the First War Command. Through miles of underground tunnels, power conduits glowed red. Metal doors, sealed since the Age of Collapse, hissed open. A voice echoed through the empty halls, growing louder, deeper, stronger. Humanity has been attacked. Directive Theta Prime engaged. Authorization pending. Then came a heartbeat, a deep electronic pulse that rolled through the buried halls like thunder. One by one, the old war relics of Earth awoke. The Iron Dawn, the Nemesis Spear, the Archangel Prime, names whispered in legend, ships so deadly they had been entombed to prevent humanity from ever using them again. Now, their cores were reactivating. Above ground, the night sky over Earth flickered faintly as hidden satellites aligned themselves, forming a silent network. Somewhere in orbit, an ancient beacon pulsed once, twice, sending a signal far beyond the solar system. Admiral Reyes, retired for 20 years, sat alone in his mountain home, staring at the same footage everyone else had seen. The explosion, the silence, the ambassador's smug face, then his old communicator, one that should not have worked anymore, crackled to life. A voice spoke, calm and mechanical. "Admiral Reyes, humanity requires your command." He froze. The voice was impossible. Those systems were dismantled generations ago, yet he felt it, something awakening, something vast. He looked out the window at the stars. "They shouldn't have done it," he whispered. Beneath the Earth, the engines of the ancient Terran fleet began to hum. The MedStar Mercy was gone, but its memory had become a call to the ghosts of humanity's greatest weapons, and they were answering. The fires of the MedStar Mercy had faded into silence, but their echoes carried far beyond the wreckage. In the days that followed, the galaxy could not look away. Every news feed replayed the same haunting image, a bright white ship, marked with red crosses torn apart by alien weapons. On the human colonies, grief turned to fury. In the vast city domes of Mars, people filled the streets. They carried banners with the Mercy's emblem, shouting, "Justice for the lost." In orbit above Titan, engineers shut down their factories for a full day, mourning in silence. On Earth, candles burned across every continent, billions of small lights glowing in the night. But anger was growing faster than grief. The Vaughn Empire had called it a tragic mistake. Their statement came with cold precision, their ambassador's words smooth and rehearsed. "Our ships detected what appeared to be an armed convoy. We regret the loss of life. Compensation will be offered." Compensation. That single word spread across human networks like poison. They offered credits for the lives of doctors, patients, and children. As if human lives could be bought and forgotten. In the Terran Council chamber, the air was tense. The hall was built of glass and white metal, its curved ceiling showing the blue arc of Earth beyond. But today it felt like a cage. President Halden sat at the center table, surrounded by admirals and envoys. His voice was steady but heavy. "We cannot risk open war with the Vaughn Empire. They control a third of the galaxy. If we act recklessly, we doom ourselves." Across the table, Admiral Reyes leaned forward. His uniform was plain, his grey hair trimmed short, his eyes sharp as ever. "With respect, sir, we are already doomed if we do nothing. They destroyed a hospital ship. Our hospital ship. What message does that send to every species watching us?" A younger minister spoke up. "Admiral, even if we wanted to fight, we don't have the ships. Our fleets are outdated. We've spent decades dismantling our old war machines. We made peace." Reyes slammed his hand on the table. "We made peace with ourselves, not with them." Silence followed. The president sighed. "Admiral, I understand your pain, but we must show restraint. The council will send investigators. The Vaughn have promised full cooperation." Reyes stood slowly. "And what will they find, sir? Empty wreckage and ashes? The Mercy is gone. Its black box will never be recovered." They made sure of that. He turned toward the window, looking down at the Earth below. the birthplace of humanity, still blue and beautiful, but far too trusting. "They think we're weak," he murmured. "They think we've forgotten what we are." The president watched him carefully. "And what are we, Admiral?" Reyes looked back. Survivors. That night, Reyes sat alone in his quarters on the old military base in Geneva. Outside, the wind howled softly through the mountains. He poured himself a glass of amber liquid and stared at the flickering screen before him. The explosion replaying in endless loops. He'd seen war before. He'd seen ships die, comrades lost, battles fought to the last breath. But this was different. The oceans roared that night. Across the Pacific, fishing ships felt waves that should not have existed. Monitors in coastal cities flickered, their sensors showing strange undersea tremors, too deep to be tectonic, too steady to be natural, and beneath those dark waters, humanity's oldest monsters were waking. Inside the buried facility known as Vault 7, the temperature climbed as ancient reactors burned to life. Floodlights illuminated rows of massive shapes, warships the size of mountains, sleeping in silence for 6 centuries. Each one was unique. The first, black and smooth as obsidian, bore the name Iron Dawn. Its hull still carried scars from the First Galactic War. Next to it rested the Nemesis Spear, its sharp frame lined with thousands of weapon ports. And floating in a separate chamber, glowing faintly blue through the mist, was Archangel Prime, the largest and most feared of all Terran relics. In the control room, buried above them, alarms blinked red. Systems long forgotten began to speak. Power levels rising, neural cores awakening, command protocols verifying, awaiting human authorization. Technicians, newly reactivated from automated cryosleep, stumbled through the station in shock. "This can't be real," one whispered. "These ships were sealed forever ago." A voice answered, not from a person but from the intercom itself. Calm, steady, cold. "Forever has ended." The crew froze. Who's speaking?" asked the lead technician. "I am Iron Dawn. Designation Terran Strategic Defense Unit 01. Reactivation order detected. Confirm. Humanity under threat." The technician swallowed hard. "Confirmed," he said. There was a pause, like a breath taken by a god. Then the ship spoke again. "Then the enemy will learn what fear truly is." Half a world away in Geneva, Admiral Reyes stepped onto the ancient elevator shaft that led deep into the mountain base. He hadn't been here in decades. The last time he walked these halls, he was a young officer helping seal the relics away. Humanity's ultimate weapons, too dangerous to ever use again. Now, the doors opened with a hiss of cold air. The command chamber was enormous, built directly into the rock. Holographic displays hung in the air, showing awakening sequences from every vault on Earth, under the Pacific, beneath the Sahara, hidden under the ice of Antarctica. One by one, Old War AIs flickered to life. Unit Iron Dawn operational. Unit Nemesis Spear reactor stable. Unit Archangel Prime core awakening. Human link required. Reyes stood before the central console, its interface glowing faintly blue. A symbol appeared, the old Terran defense insignia, the mark of humanity's first spacefaring fleet. A voice spoke from the air, deep, calm, powerful. "Admiral Reyes, welcome back." He looked up slowly. "I never thought I'd hear that voice again. Neither did we, but you called us. You awakened the war relics." Reyes shook his head. "I didn't, the world did. The MedStar Mercy did. The Mercy." The AI's tone shifted slightly, almost human. "We have seen the data." An attack on the innocent. An echo of the old wars. The Admiral stepped closer. "You were buried for a reason. We swore never to use you again. You buried us to protect yourselves," said Iron Dawn. "But the galaxy has forgotten its fear of humanity. You may have peace. We were built for war, and now war has come again." In orbit around Earth, old satellites began to blink to life. They were part of Sky Shield, a defense system built long before most living humans were born. Laser relays linked from orbit to surface, carrying encrypted messages that had not been used in 600 years. The messages went to Mars, Luna, Titan, all old colonies. Some humans had forgotten Earth's true power. Others had only heard stories. Now they were seeing proof. On Mars, military channels exploded with chatter. We're reading massive energy signatures coming from Earth. Is that possible? That kind of power output hasn't been seen since the Dark Wars. An engineer on Titan whispered, "The relics are moving." Beneath the Pacific, the ocean began to glow. From miles below, something vast rose slowly upward, its engines burning blue through the deep water. As it ascended, schools of fish scattered like dust before a storm. The surface bulged, waves rolling outward in every direction. Then the iron dawn broke through, an enormous shadow against the dawn sky, shedding water like a rising god. Lightning flashed across its hull as its ancient systems met the open air once again. It was not sleek. It was not elegant. It was terrifying. Its hull was black and scarred, its shape brutal, made for war, not beauty. As it rose higher, the water rained off its flanks in sheets. For the first time in centuries, sunlight touched the emblem of the old Terran fleet, a simple circle marked by 3 stars. "Surface reached," said the ship's AI. "Atmospheric pressure stable." Awaiting orders. Inside, Reyes watched from the command screen. He felt his heart pound. "It's beautiful," he whispered. "We are many things, Admiral," Iron Dawn replied. "Beautiful is not one of them." The Admiral smiled grimly. "Then let's be what we were meant to be." Across the world, other relics followed. The Nemesis spear rose from the Sahara, its engines carving glass out of the desert sand. In Antarctica, the Archangel Prime shattered the ice cap, sending massive glaciers tumbling into the sea as it climbed toward the clouds, its wings glowing with golden light. People around the world looked up, recording the sight. For the first time in living memory, humanity's warships darkened the skies. The media exploded with panic. Unknown ships sighted above multiple continents. Earth defenses offline. But then one message appeared across every human broadcast. "Do not fear. We are Terran. We have awoken to defend our own." Inside the Iron Dawn, Reyes stood before a massive viewport. He could see the curve of the Earth below, blue, bright, alive. For a moment, he remembered why these ships had been sealed away. They had been too powerful, too willing to destroy. But then he thought of the MedStar mercy, the innocent lives lost, the arrogance of the Vaughn Empire. "No more," he said quietly. The AI responded, its voice calm but resonant. "Then we begin. The galaxy will learn what becomes of those who harm humanity." And far away, in the cold heart of the Vaughn Empire, their border sensors detected something new, faint, rhythmic energy pulses coming from Sol system. The Vaughn analyst stared at the readings in disbelief. "That's impossible." "Those codes, they're ancient Terran. Those weapons were destroyed centuries ago." Their commander leaned closer, eyes narrowing. "Then tell me, why are they moving again?" In the dark between stars, ancient warships began to align their orbits. Their engines glowed like old gods opening their eyes. Humanity, long silent and underestimated, was stirring once more. And in the shadows of the void, the message continued to echo through every relay and frequency, simple, defiant, unstoppable. "We remember, we endure, we avenge." The Vaughn Empire stretched across half the galaxy. Its fleets patrolled thousands of systems. Its banners flew over countless conquered worlds. For centuries, no one had dared to challenge them. To the Vaughn, humans were little more than a curiosity, a young race that spoke too loudly and dreamed too big. Their technology was weak, their fleets outdated, their leaders naive. So when word of the MedStar Mercy reached the Vaughn High Council, most of them didn't even bother to attend the meeting, but Emperor Zalreth did. He sat upon his throne, a chair carved from the metal of defeated worlds, and looked down at his ministers through eyes that glowed faintly blue. The air shimmered with heat from the twin suns outside his palace walls. "The humans are still sending messages," said one of his generals, kneeling. "They demand an official apology and reparations. They claim we destroyed a medical vessel." The Emperor's mandibles clicked softly, a sound that was not quite laughter, not quite annoyance. "And what of it?" "The Council of Worlds is watching," another minister said nervously. "Several neutral species have condemned us. They call it a war crime." "War crime?" Zalreth leaned forward. "Against whom? Species barely crawling among the stars?" The generals chuckled quietly. Another voice spoke, a younger officer. "Your Majesty, There are reports that human activity has increased around their homeworld. Their old colonies are transmitting encrypted data. We are detecting strange energy readings from their solar system. Zalreth waved a clawed hand. Energy readings, data transfers, empty threats. They cannot harm us, but sire, I said enough. His voice echoed across the chamber, silencing everyone. The humans will shout. They will cry. And then they will forget, as they always do. They are sentimental creatures, not warriors. He rose from his throne, tall and gleaming in his gold armor. If they wish for war, let them come. The Vaughn Empire will crush them, as we have crushed every fool who believed they could stand against us. The generals bowed. None dared to speak. Far away, deep in Vaughn space, border outposts began to report strange incidents. A small patrol convoy near the edge sectors sent a brief distress call. 3 words before the signal went dead. They found us. When rescue ships arrived, they found only debris. No survivors. No black boxes. No trace of attackers. The Empire dismissed it as pirates. But days later, another fleet vanished. A task force of 5 heavy cruisers and a carrier. They had been guarding the mining colonies of Grath Prime, one of the Empire's most valuable worlds. The miners sent panicked transmissions. They described dark shapes in the sky, silent ships that appeared without warning. Then their signals went dark too. At the same time, whispers began to spread among the alien traders. Across the silent oceans of Earth, waves rolled over the ruins of an age long past. For centuries, humanity had forgotten what slept beneath, until the day the MedStar Mercy died. Now, the oceans boiled. Beneath the Pacific, the seabed split open, revealing titanic structures, metal fortresses older than any living generation. The ground shook as massive doors the size of mountains creaked open, releasing bursts of glowing blue light. From the depths, the first of the Relic-class ships rose. The TDS Iron Dawn led them, its hull black as midnight, etched with ancient battle runes, engines glowing like twin suns. Around it, hundreds of other warships followed, each one carrying the name of a forgotten legend: Hammer of Sol, Dawn Reclaimer, Justice's Flame, Valkyrie Ascendant. The sky above Earth turned red as thousands of Terran ships broke through the atmosphere. Civilian satellites captured the event, broadcasting it across every colony and station. For the first time in centuries, the universe saw the full power of old Earth. "This is Admiral Reyes," came the transmission, broadcast across the galactic network. "To all Terran citizens, the Vaughn Empire has slaughtered the innocent. The time for silence is over. The Terran Defense Fleet has returned." Billions of humans on colonies, moons, and space stations stood in awe. Some wept, others cheered, and across the galaxy, enemies who had long mocked humanity watched in fear. In deep space near the Vaughn border, a lone station detected hundreds of warp signatures appearing all at once. The operator stared at his console in disbelief. "Sir, we're reading multiple FTL breaches no, thousands." "The energy readings are off the scale. Is it one of our fleets?" his commander asked. The operator shook his head slowly. "No, sir, it's them." The screens lit up with symbols the Vaughn hadn't seen in millennia. The sigil of the Terran Defense Fleet, 3 white stars in a circle. Moments later, every alarm in the station screamed. "Incoming vessels, in size unknown." Before the crew could react, the darkness outside shifted. Dozens of massive ships materialized from warp, blotting out the stars. Their hulls were ancient yet pristine, glowing faintly blue. The commander whispered, "Those are museum pieces. How are they flying?" Then, without a word, the Terran ships opened fire. Bolts of white plasma tore through the Vaughn station's shields as if they were paper. In seconds, the massive installation, once thought indestructible, was nothing but dust drifting among the stars. The first strike had begun. Admiral Reyes stood on the bridge of the Iron Dawn, hands clasped behind his back. The faint hum of engines filled the air like a heartbeat. "Target destroyed," the AI reported calmly. "Enemy response?" Reyes asked. "None yet. Vaughn communications are in chaos," he nodded. "Good. Keep them guessing. They don't deserve the mercy of knowing when we'll strike." He turned to his officers. "Deploy fleets Beta and Gamma to the Orion border. Strike their fuel depots and relay stations." "No survivors," one of his captains hesitated. "Sir, the civilians on those worlds—" Reyes' eyes hardened. "Did the Vaughn care about civilians when they burned the MedStar Mercy?" Did they ask who was aboard before they fired? The bridge fell silent. Execute the orders, he said quietly. Moments later, hundreds of Terran warships jumped to light speed, leaving glowing trails behind them. News spread across the galaxy like wildfire. World after world reported Vaughn fleets destroyed in seconds. Fortresses that had stood for centuries fell within hours. Even the mighty Legion carriers, pride of the Vaughn military, were reduced to debris fields before they could fire a shot. The ancient Terran ships fought with a precision that defied understanding. They moved like a single organism, swift, coordinated, ruthless. Each strike carried a message broadcast into the wreckage. For the mercy, the galaxy began to whisper. Again, humans are fighting like gods. They're using technology no one's seen in 1,000 years. Even the Vaughn can't stop them. Inside the Vaughn capital, panic turned to rage. Emperor Zalreth slammed his claws into the arm of his throne. Where are my fleets? Why have they not stopped this madness? A trembling officer bowed deeply. Your Majesty, we've lost contact with the 7th, 9th, and 12th armadas. The Terrans hit them before they could regroup. It's as if they know our movements before we do. Then find out how, the Emperor roared. I want those humans broken, do you hear me? Broken. But even as he spoke, a massive explosion shook the capital. The palace walls trembled, dust falling from the ceiling. Report. An orbital defense ring has been destroyed, sire. The Terrans are here. Above the capital world, space burned. The Iron Dawn led the assault, its weapons cutting through Vaughn ships like blades of light. Plasma bursts illuminated the night as the ancient Terran fleet descended. The Vaughn defenders fought bravely, but they were no match for the old war machines. The humans' weapons were older, yet far more powerful, forged in the age when Earth fought extinction itself. Reyes watched the chaos unfold from the bridge. His voice was calm, almost sad. They thought we were weak. They forgot what humanity does when pushed. The AI's voice broke the silence. Admiral, the Vaughn Emperor's flagship has entered orbit. Orders? Reyes' eyes narrowed. Lock weapons, the AI paused. Admiral, firing on a capital vessel could destabilize their government. Billions may die. Reyes didn't blink. Billions already have fire. The Iron Dawn's main cannon glowed bright white. For a moment, all of space seemed to hold its breath. Then the beam fired, a single streak of light that tore across the void, striking the Emperor's flagship dead center. The explosion was so massive that it lit the skies of the planet below. On the surface, every Vaughn looked up and saw a new star bloom, the symbol of their empire's downfall. Admiral Reyes watched, silently as the fire faded from the viewports. Target neutralized, the AI said. Softly, Reyes exhaled. Then it begins. He turned toward the stars. For the mercy, for every soul they burned. Around him, the Terran fleet formed ranks once more, engines blazing with cold light. The galaxy was watching. And humanity, long underestimated, long forgotten, was not finished yet. The Vaughn Empire had stood for over 600 years. It had crushed rebellions, conquered civilizations, and enslaved entire species. It had never known fear until now. Across its borders, panic spread like wildfire. The once mighty Vaughn fleets were broken and scattered, their command networks in ruins. Worlds that had once sung hymns to the Empire now broadcast only silence or screams. And through that silence, a single human message played on repeat across every captured frequency. This is for the mercy. In the ashes of the border systems, the Terran fleet moved like ghosts. They struck without warning, vanished into the dark, and reappeared in another sector hours later. Entire fleets of the Vaughn never saw their enemy, only flashes of light. Then nothing. On board the Iron Dawn, Admiral Reyes stood before a vast holographic map. It was filled with red lights, each one a burning Vaughn world. Sector Theta, cleared, reported the AI, its tone calm as ever. Civilian casualties? Reyes asked quietly. Severe. The Empire used civilians as shields in orbital stations. We targeted only military structures, but collateral damage was unavoidable. Reyes closed his eyes. I know, he turned to his officers. Send rescue teams where possible. Feed the survivors, even if they're Vaughn. We're not monsters, we're just done being prey. On the Vaughn capital world, chaos reigned. The once proud city of glass and gold was now a ruin of smoke and ash. Without Emperor Zalreth, the government fractured. Generals accused one another of betrayal. Fleets deserted. Worlds declared independence. And colonies stopped sending tribute. For the first time in their history, the Vaughn were alone. A small group of surviving ministers met in a bunker beneath the ruined palace. "We can't win," one whispered. "Our fleets are gone. Our worlds are burning. The humans are everywhere. They'll destroy us all," another cried. "They'll wipe us from the stars." A younger officer clenched his fists. "Then we beg for peace. We surrender." The others looked at him with disgust. "Peace?" the minister spat. "With them? They are savages risen from dust." They knew. The bunker shook violently. Dust fell from the ceiling. A moment later, a voice came over the speakers. It was human, calm, cold. "This is Admiral Reyes of the Terran Defense Fleet. The Vaughn Empire has fallen. Lay down your arms or we will finish what you started." The ministers stared at one another. "Do we respond?" the officer asked quietly. The eldest minister lowered his head. "There's nothing left to respond with. Out in deep space, fleets that once carried the Vaughn banners now drifted aimlessly. Crews mutinied. Admirals vanished. Entire systems declared themselves free from the Empire's chains. And through it all the Terrans watched. Admiral Reyes sat alone in his quarters, staring at an old photograph. It showed the MedStar Mercy, a white ship, peaceful, shining against the black. He remembered the reports, the screams, the faces. He had promised justice. But now, as he watched entire civilizations crumble under Terran fire, he began to wonder if justice had turned into something else. The AI broke the silence. "Admiral, the Vaughn Empire's command systems have collapsed. Victory is total." "Victory," Reyes murmured. "Is that what this is?" "We achieved all mission objectives." Reyes gave a bitter laugh. "Mission objectives don't bleed." He looked out the viewport at the burning world below. "Tell the fleet to stand down," he said finally. "We've done enough." Across the galaxy, the news spread faster than light. Weeks passed after the fall of the Vaughn Empire. The galaxy, once full of war and fire, fell into a strange silence. The Terran fleets had withdrawn to Sol. The ancient war relics, those colossal ships that had slept beneath Earth's oceans for centuries, now floated quietly in orbit, their engines dim, their cannons cold. They had done what they were built for. Now they waited. In the command chamber of the Iron Dawn, Admiral Reyes stood before the great viewing window. Below him, Earth shone blue and peaceful, a sight that once felt small compared to the stars. Now, after all the destruction, it looked infinite again. "Damage reports complete," the AI said softly. 78% of the relic fleet remains operational. The rest sustained heavy losses. "And casualties?" Reyes asked. "Over 2 million Terran personnel killed or missing." He closed his eyes. "So much for victory." "Would you prefer we had done nothing?" the AI asked. Reyes didn't answer right away. He remembered the MedStar Mercy, the white hull, the doctors, the patients, the children. He remembered the first explosion that started everything. "No," he said finally. "But I wonder if we became the very thing we swore to destroy." "You did what humans always do," the AI said gently. "You fought back." Reyes gave a tired smile. "Maybe," we also remember. On the Vaughn homeworld, the fires had gone out. Cities lay in ruins, but life was slowly returning. Terran aid ships descended into the atmosphere, carrying food and medicine. Human engineers worked alongside surviving. Vaughn civilians to rebuild power grids, repair water systems, and tend to the wounded. The galaxy couldn't believe it. After all the horror, all the vengeance, humanity was helping its former enemy. A Vaughn child, the same one Reyes had saved, stood beside a human medic. She watched the Terrans unload crates and whispered, "Why are you helping us? You won." The medic smiled softly. "Because we remember what mercy means." News of humanity's restraint spread quickly. The old empires, once terrified, now began to approach Earth with caution and respect. Ambassadors from dozens of worlds sent transmissions to the Terran Council, offering treaties, trade, and peace. Some called humanity the guardians of the balance. Others called them the old ghosts of war. But among the free worlds, among the species once crushed by the Vaughn, they were called something else entirely, the saviors of the stars. inside a massive, underground hangar beneath the Andes Mountains, technicians worked around the clock. The relic ships were being repaired, cleaned, and preserved. Dr. Amina Volkov, chief engineer of the restoration project, walked among the giants of old Earth, the Justice's Flame, the Valkyrie Ascendant, and the Iron Dawn itself. These ships weren't just weapons, she said to her team. They were messages, warnings from our ancestors that humanity can fall asleep, but never truly die. One of her assistants asked, "Do you think we'll ever use them again?" She smiled faintly. "If the galaxy forgets what mercy means, maybe. But for now they'll rest." On the day the fleet officially stood down, every Terran world went silent. The ships, thousands of them, formed a massive formation over Earth. They aligned in perfect symmetry, engines glowing faintly blue. Then, one by one, they powered down, their weapons retracting, their reactors going into hibernation. The galaxy watched the broadcast live. For the first time since the war began, Admiral Reyes spoke publicly. His voice was steady, but filled with the weight of all that had happened. "We built these ships when we feared extinction. We buried them when we found peace, and we woke them when peace was destroyed. The Vaughn Empire is gone, the dead are avenged, but vengeance cannot guide us any longer. From this day, humanity will stand as a guardian, not a conqueror. We will watch the stars, and if any empire again thinks mercy is weakness, they will remember this day." The feed went silent. Then, across the void, every Terran ship lit a single blue light on its hull, a symbol of remembrance. Billions watched and wept. Months later, deep in the archives beneath Lunar Base, a historian named Kira Holden opened a sealed Terran data core recovered from one of the relic ships. The file was dated thousands of years old, back from the First Galactic War. She played the recording. A voice echoed softly through the room. "To whoever wakes these ships again, remember this. We built them to defend, not to dominate. If humanity must rise once more, let it be not in anger, but in warning. Mercy is strength. Never forget that." Kira smiled sadly. "They didn't forget," she whispered. "We didn't." In the farthest corner of the galaxy, a small ship drifted through the ruins of a destroyed Vaughn fleet. Its scanners picked up strange energy readings among the wreckage, metal fragments that still pulsed with faint blue light. The pilot leaned forward. "Looks like Terran tech." His co-pilot frowned. "You think they'll come back?" The first pilot smiled quietly. "They never left. They're watching." Back on Earth, Admiral Reyes stood alone on a cliff overlooking the ocean. The sky was clear, the wind soft. For the first time in months he felt at peace. He looked up at the stars glowing faintly above the horizon. "They'll remember," he said to no one in particular. "And so will we." Behind him, in the distance, the Iron Dawn rested half-submerged in the sea, silent, timeless, waiting. A relic, a guardian, a promise. 10 years had passed since the fall of the Vaughn Empire. The galaxy had changed. Where once the Vaughn banners hung over half the known systems, now independent worlds flourished. Trade routes reopened, colonies rebuilt, and species long enslaved began to breathe freely again. At the center of it all stood Earth, no longer a forgotten backwater, but the heart of the new galactic order. The Terran Council now met in orbit around Luna, in a vast silver station called Unity Spire. There, ambassadors from dozens of worlds debated, bargained, and argued under the shadow of humanity's power. And orbiting just beyond the station, still silent and still deadly, floated the relic fleet. Thousands of massive ships sleeping in formation, like ancient guardians watching over a fragile peace. They were a reminder to everyone, friend or foe, of what happened when mercy was betrayed. Inside the spire, Admiral Reyes, older now, slower but still sharp, walked down the long glass corridor toward the council chamber. His reflection stared back at him, lined with years of war and peace. The blue uniform he wore was simple, stripped of medals. He had refused any higher title. He didn't need one. At the end of the hall, a familiar voice greeted him. "Still haunting these halls, Admiral?" Reyes turned and smiled faintly. It was Dr. Amina Volkov, her hair streaked with grey, but her eyes as sharp as ever. "I could ask you the same," he said. She smirked. "I haunt the machines. You haunt the politicians." They stood together by the window, looking out at the sleeping fleet. "Sometimes," Amina said softly, "I think those ships are waiting for something." Reyes nodded. They always are. Far beyond Sol, in the ruins of what was once the Vaughn core worlds, strange signals began to appear. Automated probes reported energy bursts deep within the debris fields. Not human, not Vaughn. Something older. Her Terran scout ship, TSV Horizon, was sent to investigate. As it drifted through the remains of the Vaughn armada, its sensors picked up faint electromagnetic whispers, coordinates repeating endlessly. "This can't be natural," the pilot murmured. "Source? Unknown. It's coming from beneath the planetary crust." The crew followed the signal to a shattered world. Vaughn Prime, once the Empire's capital, now nothing but ash. Beneath its surface, scanners detected vast metal structures, ancient, buried, and still powered. "What the hell?" the captain whispered. Suddenly the signal shifted. The words were clear now. A voice, synthetic, alien, spoke across the comm. "We see you, children of Sol. Your fire woke more than you know." Then the signal cut. The crew stared at one another, pale. "Transmit to command," the captain ordered. "Mark it Omega priority, whatever this is. It's not over." Back on Earth, Reyes listened to the recording in silence. Dr. Volkov stood beside him, studying the waveform on a display. "It's not Vaughn," she said. "Not even close. The language structure is pre-galactic, but maybe even pre-civilization." Reyes folded his arms. "You think it's from before the First Galactic War?" She hesitated. "Or from whoever caused it?" The room fell silent. Finally, Reyes said, "Wake the fleet." Within hours, the sleeping relics stirred once more. Deep inside their hulls, ancient reactors flared to life, humming like awakening giants. Over Luna, one by one, the Terran warships powered up, their engines burning bright blue against the void. Civilians across the solar system looked up from their cities, their homes, their colonies, and felt the ground tremble beneath their feet. Why are they waking the warships again? Is there another war? No one knew, but the veterans remembered. They knew that humanity never woke the relics lightly. In the Spire's council chamber, panic rippled through the ambassadors. "Admiral Reyes," shouted the ambassador from the Kalari Union, "we signed peace accords. Why are your fleets mobilizing again?" Reyes faced them calmly. "Because something is moving out there, something none of us have seen before." The representative from the Terran Republic hissed, "You expect us to believe that story again? Maybe the humans just want another war to prove their strength." Reyes slammed his fist on the table. "If we wanted another war, there wouldn't be a council to argue in." Silence filled the room. He continued quietly, "We're not your enemy, but something out there is calling to the dead, and we'd better find out what it is before it finds us."